We are up to episode 3 of the aerial view of the fitness industry, and today we are blessed to have the founder and CEO of KeepMe, Ian Mullane. G'day, Ian.
Hey JT, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing terrific, and if anyone is wondering, that is an English accent. It's in the morning there for Ian. He's woken up bright and early. No, he's been up for hours. And the reason we've got Ian on today is that his brand, KeepMe, does stuff throughout the UK, the US, as well as through Asia, and even here in Australia. And Ian, we've got an international audience that are going to be watching this. So I think they're going to be fascinated to hear what you're seeing up there in the helicopter, peering over the industry over multiple lands. But there could be someone out there that's watching this who has no idea what KeepMe actually is. So let's start by just saying, well, what is KeepMe first up?
Okay, I'll give you a very quick one on that one. And so I was an owner-operator for 12 years up until in July last year. Though my background is predominantly in predictive analytics. My work has been historically around hedge funds, trading and risk type within banks.
Okay. What is predictive analytics? Because I'm sure this is going to be relevant to the fitness industry at some stage.
I could have predicted that question. So predictive analytics, very, very simply, is that rather than having a metric that we may utilize, such as attrition or potential non-due secondary revenue spend, right, which is a historical metric that tells you what's happened, KeepMe and predictive analytics is about using what has happened in the past to be able to predict accurately what will happen in the future. So gaining an understanding of what my probable attrition will be over the next 12 months, gaining an understanding of which of my members would have the highest probability to engage in a package of PT or an upgrade in a membership. So it's something which is around us all of the time, whether it be our Spotify playlist these days, which are on those things, or whether it be the auto tagging in Google Photos. It's artificial intelligence, but this particular discipline is called machine learning.
So is there a difference? I don't care if anyone else is interested. I want to know. Is there a difference between artificial learning, machine learning, and predictive data?
You could certainly do an element of predictive analytics without the necessity to use machine learning and AI, but maybe just to clarify. So machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, and predictive analytics is a product from it. However, we've been doing predictive analytics, particularly in the financial markets, for the last 20 or 30 years using a whole host of statistical modeling. You don't want to go there. That's not an interesting conversation. But the world changed in the last 6 to 7 years, where machine learning brought us to a new level of accuracy.
Now, you were talking about machine learning and predictive. I've got a question for you. Sure. What machine predicted COVID-19?
I would assume there will have been one that will have predicted, but let me tell you what it did happen, right? When COVID-19 came around, the first thing that was utilized with artificial intelligence was to identify the synapse that actually had the uptake of the protein. So effectively, AI was able to identify and then provide the researchers with a subset of drugs that they could utilize for the overall research. Something that historically would have taken between 2.5 to 3 years was done within a matter of weeks in this particular case. And I don't think we should underestimate even now that when we are going through this vaccine stage and they're looking at it, they will be using AI to look at what the probable effect of utilization is and predicting in that particular area.
Well, that's fascinating, Ian. So now that we know what KeepMe does, I'm sure it's going to add to supplement the information that you can share on the aerial view around the world. What have you seen on your travels? Even though I know you live in a tiny little village in the UK, what have you seen or what are you hearing around the industry?
I think there's been I mean, obviously, first of all, the shutdowns were quite structured over a period of time. So we saw different reactions. We're still seeing different reactions now. And in many ways, that's driven by any of the bodies which are representing the industry. So, if we look at the UK currently, I see that the UK is very active in its lobbying currently about trying to at least get the transparency around how it will operate when it does actually open. The support the government gave has obviously been very beneficial to the industry in the United Kingdom, though is probably not going to be sufficient to stop what will be a bloodbath in the latter part of the year. However, I think that operators have been trying to gain an understanding of what their business is likely to look like when they reopen, and then also to start to understand in more detail what actions they can take to make themselves a little bit more robust, come out of this in a structured form, and also understand the impact, such as what digital delivery is making on their business. So I think that Europe is probably somewhat similar, though we do seem to have, it's not homogenous in its overall approach from that perspective. I think everybody seems to have an interest in the digital aspect. Everyone is trying to understand what part that will play. There's excessive optimism.
Sorry, when you say digital, what do you mean by digital? Can you play in this?
I mean the digital offering. So effectively, the capacity to be able to provide classes through the digital mediums in whatever format that may be. It's obviously been an area of much discussion during this period. It's one that I would definitely counsel businesses not to chase after, to be quite frank. I think that, well, for a number of reasons. So first and foremost, this is not easy, right? The delivery of quality digital content on a consistent basis is challenging. It's challenging from not only a technology perspective, it's challenging from a talent management perspective, it's challenging from a music IP perspective. But I think what we should also remember is it's trying to consistently be able to deliver that content day in, day out is where the challenge is going to be. I've said more than once recently, there's a reason why Peloton sees itself as a media production company and not a fitness company.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it spends over $120 million a year just delivering its production content. And there's a reason why two of the top operating executives that do production have got, one of them's got 10 years network TV experience, and the other's got 12 years with Disney. So it is a challenge. And my concern is that many organizations will come back feeling that this is something they need to enter into, or at least have an explanation for. And in many cases, their brands just aren't strong enough to be able to generate content that would have people involved. So if you're looking to have people pay for this digital content, you need to understand you are going to be competing with either some of the biggest brands in the bricks and mortar part of our industry, or Les Mills, or Peloton. And if that be the case, you need to understand that that will be your competitor. The reason why I counsel people not to get engaged in it, JT, is for one reason and one reason only. When they come out of this, that is a distraction to what their fundamental concern should be.
Yes.
Right? And not only is it a financial distraction, but it's an operational distraction, right? These businesses need to keep and concentrate on their core. They need to, of course, be more operationally efficient. They need to do a better job, etc. But the addition of another channel is probably a step too far for the majority, too expensive, and could ultimately cost them from their core business significant amounts that could even put them under quicker.
It's a complete another business center. They've got to market it, they've got to produce it, and I don't know many club owners that have got the bandwidth to run two businesses side by side, except for you, like all the time, like non-stop. That's what it would be like.
Yeah, it's you know, and it's another it's not a case of taking what we have and putting it online. Um, uh, we've had this discussion around social media. Many of these businesses struggle to consistently deliver social media content on a daily basis, engaging enough for their members and their fans.
And
Now,
that's in normal times.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's in normal time. And also, do you know that and the factor there is very often it's a small video, it's a you know a witty meme or whatever else it may be. It is not a 45-minute workout where you have to consider music, you have to consider the content, you have to consider the lighting, you have to consider bandwidth, you then have to consider the storage and then the presentation of it. You know, the delivery, this is an industry that struggled with the delivery of mobile apps, even in the most basic sense.
Yeah.
So the idea that that can then be rolled up into consistent quality on-demand content by, you know, my box down the street, I don't think that's going to happen. And now, do I think that that we are going to see a huge quantity of people relying solely on online? No, I don't. I believe that any online digital aspect will be complementary overall. And I believe that in many ways, people who have found the digital channel to be a great way to engage during this period are more likely to want to go back to a bricks and mortar. So yeah, I came a little pessimistic way, but let me give you an optimistic view. I think that this industry's always dreamed and joked and lied to itself about the fact that every year it grows miraculously. It seems to grow. It's unbelievable the level it's. I sound like Trump then, so I won't use unbelievable again. But what we have had is an industry, despite the fact the world is aging, despite the fact that the vast majority, you know, the growth in population is in the 55 plus age group, we're always reporting that our industry is growing. And the reality is it really isn't. You know, the penetration has not gone up significantly. We are not seeing a bunch of 55 plus marketed gyms that would be giving us reason to believe there was growth in that area.
And
But
data from the World Health Organization backs that up.
Yeah, and it's basic economics, right? It's at current time is to say the population is aging, yet I don't see product out there which is targeting the aging population, right? And indeed, you know, there's a whole host of studies around that. But the reality for this particular market now is that there probably has been more of a penetration around fitness because of the events of the last few months than there has been historically. And my optimistic view is that there will be a number of people who have now gained a habit or are seeing the benefits of losing a few kilos, feeling a bit there, you know, feeling a bit more robust, or there are people who want to utilize increased fitness to help them fend off the associated risks with the coronavirus, that they, having had digital, will have managed to get over that barrier which often members have, which is attending a gym and finding it intimidating because they're at that stage where they're not fit enough to be able to participate in a full class, as an example. So that's one. And then there's the other aspect where I've managed to get hold of my, you know, I dusted off the barbells and the dumbbells from the garage and I've been lifting them in the back garden. And then suddenly I realized that, you know, yeah, I actually am getting stronger, but I want to be able to have professional expertise to teach me how to, you know, have proper form. I want to be able to utilize more specialized equipment. So I think that digital will be a driver for more people to enter into gyms. I think it may be the gateway that we've been looking for people to be able to try out. And I hope that there will be stronger digital product that will help people go through the next level so that they then do want to actually engage. I read some silly stuff around digital becoming the most important factor in fitness. I've been around gyms long enough that I believe that people underestimate the power of community within a gym. And I think they also underestimate the power of expertise. And going in and being with a great instructor or a great PT, or having access to great equipment, or just being able to high five your buddy that you've been training with on the way out the door, or at high elbow, whatever it'll be in the next 12 months, gives us a great deal of importance. So I'm optimistic that digital is likely to drive elements of growth overall. I don't think it's going to become a defined, and I counsel organizations to take a look at the Peloton product and say that if you choose to do so for cost, then you need to understand you are openly saying that you wish to compete with this organization. They're not just doing spinning, they do every single one in between as well. And there are other offerings in that area as well.
Yeah. Now, I wrote down a few key words as you were speaking. So little bit by little bit, I just want to backtrack. When you were talking digital, you actually used the word complementary. I got the impression when you said complementary as side by side, as opposed to complementary being a free offering.
I think that it can be both, right? But quite frankly, if it's going to be free, if we look forward and if we have a belief that over the next 18 months to 2 years, there is the possibility, a very high possibility, that we're going to see a reemergence of this virus, right? And therefore the possibility of lockdown in certain countries is very high. I think in the United States, you would give it a much higher percentage, as with their challenges, than maybe you would give Australia and New Zealand. But, there will be countries that will be. If I was an operator currently and I had the capacity and the capability to produce a digital offering, I would integrate it within my membership, and I would then utilize that membership so that in a COVID environment again, that my members had something to go to. Now, I had an interesting conversation with the CEO of Jets in Asia the other day, and what he was saying was that it would be an interesting one to actually say that in the event of a further lockdown, we will reduce your membership by 80%, but we will continue charging you 20% of your membership for the digital offering. And that is not what we're effectively saying there is when I sign up for my, let's say, $100 to keep my maths simple, that $80 of that a month is for the bricks and mortar on site and 20 is for the digital. You're paying 100, but it gives you an opportunity. And I do think that it's a lesson to be learned on that aspect. I do think also that individuals and organizations who have had a digital offering in play, even if it be free of charge, delivered through Instagram and Zoom, are probably going to have a higher retention of their members than those that did not. Because if you haven't engaged me during that period of time, probably somebody else has, because I didn't stop doing it. And even if I haven't been engaged, I am losing my association. I am losing, I won't say my loyalty, but I am less inclined to think beneficially towards your brand because you haven't played a part in my previous few months. And you having difficult times may be a point for you, but I am also in difficult times. And we have to remember, consumers don't do for us, they do for them. And it's what we're providing for them, which has them taking the action that we need for us.
That's great insight. I love that. Now, you didn't mention this, but I thought of it while you were speaking. And you are a man with his finger on the pulse, because you talked about Peloton, and there are obviously lots of others with strong digital platforms and digital presence. Do you know the person that I am probably the most concerned about for our industry that really has been obscenely quiet almost all year? Apple.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And we know Apple are developing. I mean, for goodness sake, they've got Jay Blarnick, one of the world's leaders in our fitness industry, working for them, and he's handpicked a team, and we know they're already developing a health and fitness component. Who knows what that's going to even look like?
It's you know, if you read any of the analyst reports on Apple, they always reference that the last potential asset that Apple brought out of significant value is actually the iPad. That was viewed as being not the watch; it was the most innovative was the iPad at that stage. And when you take a look at the balance sheet with all of that cash on it, which has the capacity to do anything it wants, it could have been sending 15 rockets up to the space station, and you know it would have been a rounding error this weekend if it had chosen to do so. So the idea that it could drop $1 billion of capital on putting together a Apple product for fitness, whether that be at home or whether that be a overall connected product which fits into the ecosystem of bricks and mortar fitness, without a doubt. I mean, listen, we're going to see some considerable offerings over the next 12 months from the likes of Apple, Lululemon, Under Armour. They're all going to come into play. You know, Google didn't make its acquisitions, you know, on the basis that it was just going to cash cow them, right? So it's got plans as well. And you know, you Bezos and the Amazon team, you'd never ever write off as putting something together that was big and brave. Now, as a consumer, incredibly exciting times to be able to see all of the digital offerings that are coming through, whether it be through Tonal or Mirror or Peloton or whatever, and to know that in 12 to 18 months' time, it's going to be incredibly different again, because we're going to be working in a much more connected environment with probably some tools that we never even thought that we could have, right? Because none of us anticipated the iPhone, you know, back in 10, and no one would have thought about it relative to what came up on the iPad, right? So I think it is going to change. That's as a consumer. I think as an operator, that means that we need to be on our toes, and we need to be very clear to distinguish. One of the things, if I was an Apple strategy director and I wanted to remove the threat from the competitors from the bricks and mortar, the best way to do it is to have them follow me. Because in the arms race, when you've got the balance sheet that Apple's got, no bricks and mortar on the planet, you can add your Virgin Actives, you can add your Planet Fitnesses together, and you're no more than a rounding error from the overnight bank reconciliation, right? So it is not a thing. So having the notes. So if I am an organization currently operating, and I do feel that there is a competitive threat in the marketplace from those players, I would now want to establish what it is that, not what they're going to do, but what I am going to be. I think there are still gaps in the marketplace, and I think that, you know, anything that Apple or these guys bring out has the potential to reduce profitability, but not replace in the short term the vast majority of businesses in this sector. Over the long term, the erosion could be quite prominent. However, I think we all would want to be honest and suggest that there are a large percentage of businesses in this sector that operate off less than optimal margins. And with that being the case, it doesn't take much, as we're going to see over the next few months, to see a number of them fail. And it could be that happens. So with the emergence of some of these digital players, I'd be eager to take a look at how do I build the capacity to continue to survive and prosper by putting together a product or an offering utilizing the resources, the assets, and the experience I've got, and probably not be playing in any of the space that Apple will want to be. Goes back to my 55 plus, right? Is that because you and I are heading in the wrong end of that now, JT? I'm not there yet, but I'm, you know, but you know, that's, if you think about that, I've got a physical asset. I've got 3 residential, because here's the other one as well. See, you got me started now, and this is just going to go on, right? But the other thing that people have not given any thought to is that the patterns relative to people's movements is going to change dramatically, right? We are going to see CBD gyms close at a rate maybe 3 to 4 times the ones I think. So historical, you know, historical bricks and mortar outfits which are based out in the boonies, on the basis that these are servicing people who in residential, and then the premium is in the CBD areas, that's going to flip. right? Because in long-term rental contracts, we're going to have people carrying an awful lot of cost in the CBD areas. They are going to see, even with the most optimistic, they're going to see reductions in people participating, because people will transfer their memberships to areas where they live because of that particular aspect of it. So I think there is that aspect, and then I think that the additional side of things are that you could look at the over 55s market and say that with CBD no longer being as primary a site, there is the capacity now for people to move fitness sites into residential more than moving towards the top CBD element. And then there is a marketplace which probably the likes of Apple and Amazon and those ones will not target as their main initial marketplace because of their technology orientation. And that could be to service the more mature fitness, who, quite frankly, are probably very much up for it at the moment because they've had the media telling them that if they're over 60 currently, they're just about to die if they get COVID-19, unless they are fit, diabetes free, and don't have any cardiac problems, right? So, there probably is quite a pent up within the silver surfers out there at the moment who would love to be able to find an establishment to be able to go and train with.
Ian, I found this particularly interesting because what I'm hearing is if we just get better at what we do with the people that we've got, we can actually almost make more money than having to go down the route of developing a secondary business that could end up competing with Peloton, Chris Hemsworth's app, whatever Apple brings out. And now we're playing in a sandpit where people have got deep pockets. Whereas we just go back and we understand our customers better, we service our customers better, we get a better understanding of even who our customer is to then be able to do lookalike audiences in that space. We've probably got a stronger, robust business coming out of this COVID than what we were thinking about at the beginning, where we're thinking, oh, we're going to have to embrace this technology thing.
But JT, we always did have, but we never did anything about it, right? We're an industry that still sees on average 40% of its members leave every year. So if we had done all of that stuff in the first place, we would have a more robust business, right? So won't name them, but you operate on the round tables in the US, and some of those are my customers, as you know, and we've got customers on there that are operating off 88 to 91% retention of their members. And I've got exposure to their financials. They're incredibly robust. They've got strong balance sheets. They've got very low customer acquisition costs. The vast majority of it is through referral on that particular aspect of it. They've got incredibly strong non-dues secondary spend. And that is just being to build a robust business like that was not about building out the sales function. It was about building out the member experience. Rather than just putting in member journeys or throwing out the odd NPS, actually bringing it into the DNA and the culture of the organization. We need to take it personally when a member leaves for a reason that we could have controlled, right? We have to. Any organization that is built around those premises, right? If I could build a fitness business around 100 people, if I can get to that 100 through the acquisition, through normal acquisition channels, my Facebook, etc. If I could retain the probability of me being able to organically grow that by another 100 inside 12 months through recommendation and referral is incredibly strong, right? My acquisition costs are significantly less as well. If I've got these very committed, loyal members, always easier in the smaller levels, but if I've got that, then the ability to then increase the offerings to them through non-dues revenue, etc., is there. The businesses that will come out of COVID stronger and better capable of being able to handle the shocks to the P&L and the balance sheet which they will have gone through will be the ones that entered with that type of attitude. And I hope that the business, again, I get cursed for it on a regular basis, right? But I listen all of the time to so much lip service from people talking about retention. You know, I've done, I don't know how many meetings over the last 2 years, and I have asked the question of so many owners, CEOs, ops directors, what is your current retention? And they do not know the answer to that question. Tell me how many new sales they had in last month, but you cannot tell me how many people had they coming through on that particular side. They can't even tell me on the net new sales aspect. They can tell me about a member journey, but they can't tell me why they do that member journey on that particular aspect of it. So, you know, this is an area of the business which I think the businesses that are coming out of COVID-19 now, they didn't go in. Those guys with that 88 to 91%, with a degree of confidence of having seen their data, the expectation is that they'll come out at 82, 83%. Very, very small drop. In many cases, higher, right, on those particular aspects, right? But I think we all know of businesses and brands out there that will have watched literally it fall out, right? You know, they were already losing 7, 8% a month. That will accelerate it to 12, 13% a month. And that is not because of COVID-19. That is a factor as part of it. But the main driving factor there is that I did not feel an attachment to your brand or your service that was strong enough for me to maintain my association the moment I got an opportunity to move out of that. So I think that all of this other stuff is somewhat of a distraction if you don't get the first thing first. Because guess what? If you go and do a digital channel and you're sitting on an 88 to 91% retention thing, they'll all take your digital channel. And they'll probably pay for it as well. Why? Because that 88 to 91 says you've got a strong brand, right? It doesn't matter if you're 50 times bigger and you've got 100,000 to 500,000, right? Those individuals, if you're losing 40% out of the door, you probably are not engaged with enough of them to ever see something like that be a success in the first place.
Ian, you talked about and the experience. And often when we're defining experience, particularly when we're talking about a boutique, it's kind of, I always talk about the book ending. It's like when you walk in, what's it like? Then you have your workout and what's it like when you walk out. I'm assuming when you talk about experience, yes, there's that component, but there's also the word that you just used. It's the engagement through that member journey, whether they're there for 1 year or 5 years. It's that engagement, that's the critical thing. Because am I right in saying in that engagement journey, when I'm with Amazon, miraculously, who knows how, I think we know how, I get an email that says, this author's just published a new book. You're probably going to like it. That's that machine learning thing that you were talking about earlier. But that to me is part of the experience that as a consumer, we are learning to expect based on other businesses training us. But when we come to gyms, we don't get an email that says, hey, we've got this brand new personal trainer. We know you used to train with John, who has moved on, but this trainer is also an ex-rugby player that we think you're going to like.
Yeah, I let you. Okay, so nice little lead in there. So that level of hyper-personalization delivered at scale has always been a challenge to the industry. I mean, in many ways, their club management system is not even connected to their MailChimp, right? So there is that. So that's where a platform like KeepMe comes into play. So give you an example. You know of my Australian clients, and you know of some of the performance benefits they've had out of the system. 30-40% increases in revenue. And the reason why is because, give you an example, an AI, the machine learning model looks at your membership and it says, okay, out of those 1,000 members, 600 would purchase PT from you. Not may, but would purchase PT from you, right? So that's great. So we could send out an email straight away, hey, JT, PT package doing this, right? Okay, but JT may purchase a 10-pack when I offered a 5-pack. Whereby Ian he's never done PT before, so only purchase a 1-pack. So what the AI does is it matches to it, and it will put together a custom offer based on the probability of you having the ability to purchase. So JT will always get that. Now, in addition to that, it will have "Hi JT," and it can reference within there something which is on a personal nature. But then it makes sure that the visual utilized in the package is not of a mid-20s female athlete. It is a middle-aged, fantastically athletic man like yourself, JT, in there that can be utilized when it comes to.
But are we as
I lost you on the audio there. There you go.
But are we as consumers being trained to expect that from all of the businesses we deal with? Because the banks do, the telcos do, Amazon does, but for whatever reason,
because we want it. Oh, well, I want you to present me with commercial offers which are relevant to me in a format that I want to engage with, right? You know, we get annoyed when we are commercially approached when it is irrelevant and done in a form that we don't acknowledge or feel it is relevant, right? But it's not just on the commercial side as well. Having the capacity to make sure that we are feeding information to our members that is relevant to their lifestyle, their training program at scale is incredibly relevant. And you know, in an organization now, an operator has the capacity to make sure that the only time someone gets a commercial offering is when there is a high probability that they would be interested in doing it, which is critical for both you and them, at the right level, right financial level, and in the right format. And then again, that the communication they get from me relative to, shall we say, you know, let's not be sending me communications around a particular routine, which is not even close to the actual routine that I do on a daily basis. Yeah. Now, all of that now exists at scale. So, you know, using that PT as an example, once the logic is set on that, you never worry about it again. Every hour of every day, when a member that offering becomes applicable, it's automatically brought together at the right financial level, served at the right time, in the right format, with the right visuals and the right content. Automatically, hyper-personalized. But when I receive it and it says, Ian, you know, you haven't done PT before, we'd like to give you a trial lesson. Or JT, we know that you're a big fan of thing. We've now got where we're doing 10 packs rather than 5 packs, and we thought you'd be interested, etc., etc. That not only, you know, as a business gives me an opportunity to be pushing commercial offers in at the right time, but also as a member to be receiving things and to see, oh, well, yeah, okay. So they spotted I buy 5 packs all the time, and yeah, I would have bought a 10. This level of hyper-personalization at scale exists now. The capability is there. And, you know, it's something which can be set up and then left to move so that we as the operators concentrate on one thing. That's the physical content which is going out and making sure that content represents the brand and the quality. The mechanics of how it gets there and some of the detail in it can be left to the third party, the platform, to be able to make sure it happens. Because, you know, good retention, as we all well know, there is no silver bullet. It's consistency. It's doing it regularly, and it's making sure that every engagement you have with a member is valuable and that the member values it, right? So it's not valuable from you as an operator, it has to be valuable from the member's perspective. And if it's valuable from the member's perspective, then that's going to build you a little bit more brand currency, a little bit more loyalty, because it doesn't go from, it starts at 90, you can work your way up to 100, but in all honesty, it goes down to 60 or 70 or 80, and you're always just trying to keep it above the 60 and the 70 mark so that people will stay consistent with you.
You just dropped the mic. So for me, if I'm a club owner, I think I've just decided I'm going to use the word that I hate. I'm going to pivot.
Yeah, I hate that one.
I'm going to pivot from.
I've pivoted business as well. That's been like, oh, that didn't work. Shit. Let's pivot. Do you mean we just broke the business? Yeah, we're pivoting though. All right. Okay. Everyone agree? Pivot.
Pivot. The only time you use the word pivot is in basketball and in netball.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But if I'm a club owner or a business owner, I'm thinking, right, I'm going to go the route of developing this whole digital platform to give our members this experience at home, what you just have described in the last 30 minutes for me is it's actually an easier route for us to go down the hyper-personalization route to create this experience and engaging ecosystem and environment for our members, which is non-competitive compared to going the route of this hyper-competitive with not knowing what's still to come in that.
Yeah.
That is my big insight from chatting with you today. Have I?
Good. Well, thank you. I mean, and that's kind of where I wanted to be. I would prefer people the operators to see themselves as hedgehogs, to start defending their position a little bit more. And in defending their position, what I mean by that is protecting the largest asset, bar their staff, that they have, and that's their members, right? And being the guardian of the member and is going to mean that you're going to be the guardian of the brand and the health going forward, because as you build up this robust, strong membership, I see it on a regular basis with the exposure to numbers. Physical numbers does not represent profitability. Physical numbers does not represent health. I know operators out there that have had negative retention on it to keep going by being more aggressive on the sales. Any organization which concentrates first and foremost, and even potentially only on the member, is going to grow and develop and be able to be more robust in these difficult times than anybody taking a different approach.
Mate, I love that. I'm going to finish this fascinating interview with encouraging all club owners to become hedgehogs and defend them. That is perfect. That's a great metaphor for what we really need to be doing now over from now to the end of the year. Defend your position, be strong in your position, look after the most important asset after your staff, and that's your members. Powerful insights, Mr. Ian Mullane. Wow, I did not expect anything like this today.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you anyway, JT. And we've managed to do so without talking about rugby once.
Yep, we did a pretty good job. Now, if anybody...
Yeah, well, because there's no rugby to talk about.
Hey, have you heard the rumour?
Go on.
The Wallabies are going to go undefeated this year for the first time in decades. Because
you know what? I can.
We're not playing.
There's no other matches. I work that out. Yeah, there's no matches. You'll be cool, right? Yeah.
I don't think we'll get to number one, but we'll be undefeated.
Yeah, I believe you will be as well.
Mate, this has been terrific. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure people watching this will be inspired to really look at their business, look at how they look after their members, and really become that hedgehog for the rest of the year, if not even beyond that. If people want to get in touch with you, tell them how, but we'll also put that in the notes of the show as well. But how can people find you?
Yeah, really simply. So KeepMe's website is keepme.ai, and my email is ian@keepme.ai, and I'm always interested to listen to people's views or indeed ideas of how they feel that they could utilize the data that they have within their organizations better. And, if anyone's ever been curious, if you've got something that's predictive or could be predictive, or maybe you've got a metric which you rely on the business and it's historical and you'd like to know what it could be or how you could run your business if you could predict it going forward, reach out to me. It's the type of stuff I geek out on, and I'm always very, very happy to talk to you.
Mate, thank you so much. This has been an insightful aerial view of the fitness industry, and this is going to be one of our top ranking shows. We've only done 3, but it'll be one of the top 3 anyway.
Bit like the Wallabies. Yeah, all the best, JT.
Thanks, mate.